Hold on, I'm coming.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello. Hi.
Welcome to Baby TV, a world created for babies and new parents. Baby TV has been making children and families laugh and learn together for almost 15 years.
Please welcome.
With shows created by child development experts.
1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Our premium content creates loyalty and trust around the world.
Bamboo. Bamboo. Bamboo.
1, 2, 3, hey! We have the happiest viewers because we put family and friendship first.
Did you hear that loud sound?
What's
And we are still the only channel for babies that's 24/7 and commercial-free worldwide. Happy to be Baby TV.
Baby TV.
I'm joined by Ron Isaac, who's the co-founder and head of content, creative and programming at Baby TV. So Ron, people might be familiar, obviously with Disney, Turner, and Viacom with Nickelodeon. But obviously no one puts baby in the corner. So tell me a bit about Baby TV and, when it started and what you've been doing
Put
since.
a pacifier in his mouth and shut up. Baby TV is a unique channel in the sense that we address kids, but we first have to address the parents. It's not as if a 1-year-old will come to his parents and say, I want this channel or I want this program. The parents have to make the choice. And since the parents have to make the choice, they are our first audience to address. And that was a tough one because parents feel bad about putting their kids in front of television because they feel their conscience is bad because they have to address their life, but also they want to be with their kids. So Baby TV came into that gap. And we learned that addressing parents is addressing a very protective audience because they are so sensitive towards what their kids will see, how their kids will react to it, what they're exposed to. And they also need to feel that there's actual benefit to the time they spend in front of television. So these are the big questions that we had to address. I just mentioned here that, in a sense, one of the big decisions we made from day one was the fact that we do not have adult characters whatsoever on the channel. And that is for the simple reason that we do not want to give the parents the idea that someone is competing with them, or if they may see a role model or a child and a parent acting or making decisions that they don't feel comfortable with. And that will hurt their sense of owning the child, being responsible for him, and having someone interfering. So that's a decision that we made early on, and I think that it's one of the big decisions that help people and help the parents feel that, okay, this is fine for us to use this channel with our kids.
Mm-hmm. And how far kind of ahead are you in that mission to convince parents? Would you say it's job done and parents are, in the majority happy to put their babies in front of Baby TV, or is there still stuff that needs to be done?
There's still stuff that needs to be done, although as things are at the moment, I feel that there's less negative. The negativity doesn't come as strong as it used to be when we just started on. people accept the idea that this content is designed specifically for their kids. I think that in early days, the content wasn't designed for the kids. And that was one of the reasons that all the advisors and psychiatrists felt comfortable to recommend not to use this channel. But since this content is designed specifically for the kids, I think people and parents feel that, okay, it's appropriate and we can use it.
Mm-hmm. Should we take a look at an example of your programming? So we're going to see a clip from Charlie and the Numbers.
Yeah, I just want to address this clip because I think that through this clip I can give you a certain touch of how we design content for this channel, which is a little different than the rest of the channels that we will see. So it's Charlie and the Numbers.
My name is number 1 and I can reach the sun.
My name is number 2. How do you do?
I am number 3. Look at me.
Let's dance together now. 1, 2, 3. 1, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6, 7, 8. 9, 10. 6, 7, 8. 9, 10.
Charlie is a key to understand the way we address content, and this is for producers out there who are interested in what we're trying to do. And that is the reason that we have to address a range of audience that starts from a few months old and it ends at around 4 years old. Depends on the culture and the country that we address audiences. And when you design content for this age group, you always have to think of the two extremes. So you always need something for the older age group, and you also need something for the very, very young age group. And when you come to talking about numbers is an abstraction. So numbers are symbols. You cannot come to a 1-year-old and say, look, there's number 1. You have to define quantity. You have to teach the shape of the number. So that's something that you cannot address and expect kids to understand at an early stage. But kids do identify with characters, and kids can follow story at a very early age. And what we did in this show was and the way we solved it here was we made stories, and the characters are numbers. So the very early, the young kids can just follow the story or part of it. The older age group would understand the symbol, would understand the quantity. And that's just addressing the two extremes of our target audience. The other thing that we have in this series is a structure that repeats itself. Repetition and having a structure that repeats itself is something very useful for this age group because they know what to expect. And when they know what to expect, they feel good about themselves because, oh, I know what's going to come and it comes. So, okay, I knew it. And you feel comfortable and confident. So we end each show with the song, which is the story. It goes in the story because they're all on the way to the numbers party. So at the end of every episode, we have the numbers party. And it's a big event. We know from families from around the world that once the numbers party starts, many kids around the world start to cry. And parents ask me, why do you think they cry when the numbers party goes on? So I tell them, because they know that the show is going to end. So that's also where they anticipate what's going to happen.
How important is exclusivity? Because we've seen lots of YouTube channels, make a moderately healthy amount of money now from relatively simple animations that they can put on YouTube, build a lot of subscribers, and get money through the revenue share. So if a producer came to you saying, we've got this, and it's really popular on YouTube, do you want it for baby TV? What would you say to them?
It's not something that we would say no to. I would look into the content, and as I mentioned before, we have some rules and regulations that we have to address, no parents, multi-layered content for the different age groups, etc. But I think that the linear channel is very strong in the way that we designed it. And it should, if this proposal would come to us, it would need something unique in it for me to accept it for the channel. Something that I would say, okay, we didn't do this. It's extremely special, and we'll take it.
And so Baby TV is owned by Fox.
Yeah.
So you've got a huge, multinational US company behind you. In terms of how the opportunities that gives you outside of linear TV, what does that bring, being part of Fox to Baby TV?
Fox is a company that doesn't address the kids' arena at all whatsoever. So the help and the assistance that they bring us is not direct. The channel is in more than 900 platforms around the world. So we are on, Hulu, and we're on Netflix, and we're on the OTTs, and we're on the VODs, and we also have presence on YouTube. So we have our apps that are doing very well. So we are, by ourselves, we manage this kind of spread and this kind of diversity that we need for this content to be placed in all platforms and available for parents to use everywhere.
Okay. And in terms of what you're commissioning at the moment, is it mostly original content, or are you primarily looking to acquire finished programming?
We do not acquire anything. We only produce our own content for various reasons. One of them is the kind of content that we need, which is unique, and it's not out there, and you don't just find it. You have to design it and produce it. And the second reason is that we need to own the rights and for the way that we operate the channel, because although we're widely spread, we are a very small niche, and we need to own the rights to be able to make the deals and be flexible about them. And the way we operate is that we outsource everything. We work as a mini studio. We create a lot of content. That's what we do at our team. We create stories, ideas, scripts. We address them to studios, to creative designers throughout the world. There are companies that work with us for many years now, so they're familiar and they feel comfortable, so they address us with their ideas and concepts, and they send them over. I constantly meet new producers, as I did yesterday here, and I do it all the time from around the globe, looking for people that want to work for this channel, which normally I spend time with small and medium-sized companies, because big companies are not interested, of course. And it's only small and medium-sized ones that feel that they have something to gain and learn of how to produce for the international market, because the international market has its own demands, both content-wise, design-wise, and technically. And that's the way we operate, and that's how we receive such a diversity for our channel, because it is diverse in terms of style, in terms of style of animation, storytelling, the kind of series that we do. We bring in a lot of diversity that works well for the linear channel and less so for the other platforms, which is a different story. But for the linear channel, it's important.
Do we have any questions from the audience?
What's your funding model? Is it subscription or is it different?
What's your funding model? So is it subscription?
For the audience, or the way we fund the series?
Funding the shows.
Funding the shows. We fully fund the shows. So when a producer comes to us, there's downsides and there's upsides. The upside is that we fully fund everything, so you don't have to spend time and raising money. That's definitely helpful.
But the downside is, if it's a massive hit, then the producer won't see much of the fruits.
Absolutely. But I will tell you that for some reason, we are operating this channel for many years now, and we have hits. We have a series that we know are popular, and we know that the series that are less popular. But the fine hit for Baby TV, I don't think that we are talking the same language as we used to when we were talking Disney or Nickelodeon. It's a different scale of hits. Yeah. So I would tell the producer, hold your horses. make a name for yourself on baby TV and do the hit for Disney. And try to hold the rights there. Let's see you do that.
So what would you, obviously I mentioned the popularity of content for babies on YouTube. What would you say, obviously, and we discussed the lack of, there's no adults in the shows. Are there any other ways you would say that your content differs from that content?
I think that the way we understand our content and the way we expect our content to work is that we are concerned with the range of children that we're addressing, meaning that we have a kid that's 2 years and a month, and 2 months later is 2 years and 3 months old, and he changed dramatically within this time frame. So his taste changed, he adored this character, and 2 months later he doesn't like it anymore, he hates it. So it's an audience that's very dynamic, and we're concerned with that at all times. So when we think of our shows, we think of them as something that have to be hits, but for a very short period of time. And that's our expectations of our shows is different. We expect them to do their work differently. But if I have to point out one single element that we think of is how we can assist and help kids and their families feel good about themselves. And that's something that we find many different ways of doing. I just mentioned one before, and that is if a kid understands something and he didn't understand that before and suddenly understands it, and he knows the word that is being said, or he precipitates the event that's going to occur and it does occur, or there's a question and he knows the answer, he feels good about himself. He's happy with himself. And that's our core goal, and that's what we try to achieve in every single show that we make. And I think that that's how you can identify our content. How we make it easier or simple for kids, young ones, old ones, kids that have seen it already, bored with it. Oh, there's something else here that I didn't see the previous time. We planted it there for that specific reason.
And what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Email.
What's your email?
Do you want my email? Do you want to read it?
Yeah, go on. It saves a lot of time.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Okay, it's ron.isaac, that's with 2 A's, at babytvchannel.com. How does the schedule change over the course of the day?
We have night programming and day programming. That's a rough distinction. Night programming is designed for families that have kids that are awake and they need to create a soothing environment for their families to put it back to bed as soon as possible. And daytime is energetic and full of content and songs. Nursery rhymes is very big for this age group. It's something that parents feel good about it, and kids too, apparently. And we have a very energetic playlist for the daytime. And as I mentioned before, we have short programming. So the short programming for baby TV works in many different ways. First of all, kids with a very short attention span know that shows that they are not interested will end shortly and a new one will start. So it helps them view the content. Secondly, if you think again about our parents, it makes the channel useful at every single point of the day and for as long as they want. They don't have to tear their kid away from the channel and say, I want to see the end of the show. They can wait a minute or two and the show will end, and then they can close the channel. So it's useful for both our audiences, and it helps us also to create a great energy flow from show to show. If you have a more didactical show, you can move on to a song, etc., which gives us a variety of ways to address attention spans and wake up the kids that are watching the channel. So short-form television works well for us.
Great. Any other questions from the audience? If not, I've got one more. How do you see the future of the linear TV channel? And are you future-proofing that and potentially moving everything online at some point? And what point do you think that would be, maybe?
I think that the linear channel is designed extremely well for the audience because it's so useful for parents to go and click on and it's there. and they don't have to make choices. They don't have to make decisions. They don't have to say, okay, well, let's watch this or let's watch that. When you go to the VODs, you have to make a choice. And the VODs companies tend to bombard their audience with enormous amounts of content, which I think is not productive for the parents because they just want life to be simple. So they would tend to take the most premium shows because the premium shows they know from the channel, so they'll say, okay, let's watch a couple of Charlies. It's fine. Or the nursery rhymes because it's fine. They don't want to have complex decisions to make about themes like dance or movement or professions or stuff like that. So I think that we are very well suited for linear channels. When we move to the OTTs, we repackage everything, and we do that according to the affiliate the wishes. Sometimes we don't understand why they need so much content, but that's the way it is. I think that we would prefer to produce more premium content rather than the enormous quantities that we're asked for. It's not necessary for this age group and for our audience, but that's the way things are.
Okay. Ron, thanks very much for your time.
You're welcome.